Oftentimes, women can be more ruthless than men when it comes to a life of crime. That's why today we're showing you some of the most dangerous female prisoners. At the age of 35, mother of 4, Michelle Blair was brought to trial for a crime that resulted in the death of 2 of her children. This happened in 2015. This woman received an eviction notice for not paying her rent, even though, as the stories go, she would constantly borrow money from friends and family because she couldn't hold down a job. In March 2015, a team from the district court initiated an eviction process where they would remove her belongings from her house, but what they discovered inside would make anyone's blood run cold. In her living room, there was a freezer housing the body of a teen wrapped in a plastic bag. They quickly called the police, who, upon arrival, found the body of another child inside the freezer. Officers began searching for her, and it wasn't long before she was found hiding in a neighbor's apartment with her 2 children. She was arrested and interrogated, while the bodies were sent to a morgue where an autopsy was performed. She confirmed that the bodies were the woman's children, who had previously been reported missing. The report also revealed that the bodies had been in that location for more than a year. She was charged and sentenced by the circuit judge. During his time in court, he testified that he felt no shame for them and that he would take their lives again. But not only this, but it was revealed that this woman was sexually abusing her son. During the hearing, this woman looked rude, constantly yelling that they were lying about what had happened. All this to eventually plead guilty to the charges and be sentenced to life in prison. Jana Hubreys. This girl was arrested and taken to court where she was charged with having killed her boyfriend. According to what is said, her partner, who was named Ryan Thurston, had what is known as a toxic and abusive relationship with her, which ended in the worst possible way. Not satisfied with her actions, she called 911, during which she admitted her guilt. All of this when they were brought to justice, claiming that she had acted in self-defense. She herself indicated that her boyfriend had abused her to the point of breaking her and having to defend herself by any means possible, even if that meant he would end up losing his life. However, her attitude in the interrogations and in court was quite arrogant, and she was seen walking and singing with calmness and coldness. And despite wanting to be an actress and carry her premise of self-defense until the end, thanks to testimonies and other evidence, he ended up being sentenced to 40 years in prison with probation, after 34 years for a capital crime. This happened at his first trial. However, the investigation was reopened, and in the second round of the court, the punishment was stiffened, resulting in a life sentence. Sandra Lena. This crime took place in Michigan, where what seemed to be a sweet family woman devoted to her children and grandchildren ended up being a heartless woman capable of going against everyone, even her own grandchildren. In fact, Sandra's grandson, named Jonathan Hoffman, was staying with her, so the woman wanted to seize the opportunity to have a closer relationship and advise him on his drug problem. But the conversation turned into a fight, and this grandmother unexpectedly pulled out a 9mm Glock and fired at a 17-year-old teenager. You might think it was a simple moment of anger when Sandra lost her mind, but what puts an end to this theory is the fact that she didn't fire just once. It was 6 bullets aimed at the young man. If you still think you have a justification for Sandra, add to the story the fact that while the badly injured teenager tried to contact 911, this enraged grandmother ended his life while on the phone. When brought to court, this woman alleged that what had happened was in self-defense, a narrative that ended up being unconvincing to everyone and polarized Sandra's family, with some members giving her support, while others assured it had been nothing. He was a wicked person. One of the main relatives against Sandra was her daughter, who had such intense comments in the middle of the courtroom that they made her cry while claiming her innocence. At last, the jury determined that the appropriate punishment for this woman was prison, and she was granted 20 to 40 years behind bars. Sandra Lane is pure evil, and if given the chance, she would kill again. She has no remorse or conscience. Her only worries are for herself. Allison Weaver. Incredibly, a case of cannibalism in modern times, as it turns out that after a night of drinks and something more, a stunning woman would invite her to her dwelling to give a perfect close to the evening. What this unsuspecting woman didn't know was that, taking advantage of the effect of drugs and alcohol, Allison would try to eat her in bites. Finally, this girl woke up in a bathtub with bites all over her body, and one of her ears was nearly torn off, with Allison sexually assaulting her. Fortunately, the woman survived this nightmare and brought Weaver to the court to stand trial, where she had to relive what had happened through storytelling. Surprisingly, Allison would apologize for what she had done, but this did not remove the approaching punishment, as she had to be registered as a sex offender and spend between 10 to 15 years behind bars, something many claim is quite lenient for the horror she inflicted with her actions. Tatiana Welch. This lived with her husband Seth Welch in Camden County, Michigan. The couple was arrested for the acts that took the life of their 10-month-old baby, named Mae Welch. She died from dehydration and malnutrition in August 2018. The couple admitted they noticed that the baby was somewhat malnourished, but refused to seek medical attention due to their deeply rooted religious beliefs, which contributed to their distrust in medicine and the government. Incredibly, thanks to these factors, 2 out of their 3 children had never received any type of medical care. However, Seth noticed that the baby was unresponsive, so he decided to find someone to assist her. But before that could occur, this man called his lawyer, a phone call that would happen shortly before calling 911. At the time of her death, the baby weighed a mere 8 pounds, and although it seemed rather clear, an autopsy confirmed that the baby died from chronic malnutrition, which could only have happened if she had been neglected and deprived of food and water for weeks or even months. Following this, it was discovered that the family home was filthy, infested with mold, vermin, and insects. Tatiana later affirmed her husband abused her regularly, and she was prevented from taking the baby to the hospital. But this failed to absolve her of punishment. They were originally charged with felony murder and first-degree child abuse, resulting in a life sentence and an additional 15 to 30 years for the first-degree child abuse charge.